welcome student in the class of operating system. Today we are going to discuss about file system. So firstly we need to know what is a file. File is a contiguous logical address space where basically we are going to store related information. Okay, actually we are all aware about file. We all know we have handled C files, we have handled shell files, we have handled data files, the files created by Word, Excel, etc, etc. So in every time we are going to create a data, we are going to create a file for a particular objective. Okay, this is actually storing some related information. So this is basically a contiguous logical space. So these are the types of file. A file can be a data file or it can be a program file. So if it is a data file, the types can be numeric, character and binary. In the file structure, it can be possible there is no structure. Okay, so the file structure, there is, in that case the file structure is none. It can be a sequence of words or bytes. It can be possible. So maximum time we are familiar with these types of files. So simple record structure can be there. There can maybe lines, fixed length or variable length lines can be there. So the files can be, these types of files can be fixed length or variable length. A file structure can be a complex structure where we are going to store the formatted document or relocatable load files. So it can be simulate the simple record structure and the complex structure type of file with first method by inserting appropriate control character. Okay, so who is going to decide this? These control characters, those are going to decide by the operating systems or the programs. Okay, so these are the attributes. Attributes means what? By which we can describe a particular file. So by these attributes we can describe a file. So the first attribute is name. Only information kept in human readable form. So the name of the file of it is the only information which is kept in human readable form. Okay, so this is basically the identifier of the file which can be identified by a human. Okay, now there is an identifier, but this identifier is not used by the human. This is basically a unique tag, a number, identifies file within file system. So this identifier is basically for the system, not for the user. Okay. Type, needed for systems that support different types, not for the all systems. This is only valid, this attribute is only valid for the systems which are going to support different types of file. Location. Location is basically a pointer to a file location on device. So the which is going to hold the address of the file. Size. Size is going to tell the current size of that particular file. Okay. Now protection can be there. Controls who can do reading, writing and executing. So in the Linux platform, there is a command that ls then L with the option L, by which you have done it in your lab. That is, some protections can be there. That means the permission given on that file access can be 3 types: reading, writing and executing. So the user who can read a file, they can, maybe they cannot write or execute. So if it is, if for a particular user only the reading permission is given, then the user cannot write on that file or cannot execute that file. Maybe writing permission separately given, or maybe executing permission separately given. So basically it is a kind of protection on the access of the file. Time, date and user identification. So these are also information. Those are related to time, date, or user identification. So these are also for protection, security, and users monitoring. The time, date, and user identification is actually going to indicate which user have accessed the file in which time. So in this way, we can actually come to know that who are the user have accessed that file, in which time they have access, in which date they have access, or for how many times they have access, or for how much long time period they have access. So these data are also can be used for protection and security, and it also can be used for the users monitoring. Okay. Now, information about files are kept on the directory structure, which is maintained on the disk. So all these informations, those are the file attributes basically, saying about a particular file, giving information about a particular file, is going to store where? It is going to kept in a directory structure, which is maintained on the disk. Now the operations that can be performed on a file. File is an abstract data type, okay? So we can create it, we can write on that particular file, we can read that file, we can reposition within the file, we can delete that file, and we can truncate that file. So these are the things that we can perform. These are the operations those we can perform on a particular file. We can create and delete a file. We can read and write on that particular file. We can reposition within the file. That means data can be repositioned, and we can truncate that. OpenFI, this is basically a function which is going to use for open a particular file. So it is search the directory structure on disk for entry FI. FI is basically a particular file, and move the content of entry to memory. From the disk, the content is going to be loaded in the memory, move to the memory. If I perform close FI, then the content of the particular file FI is going to move from the memory to the directory structure on disk. So with the OpenFI, from the directory structure of a particular disk, the file content of that particular file FI is going to move from the directory structure of on the particular disk from the memory. If on the operation of close FI, it is going to move back to the directory structure on a disk, from the memory. Open files. The first operation, several pieces of data are needed to manage open files. Firstly, file pointer. The pointer to last read or write location per process that has the file. So the last read and write location where where it is closed basically. So there must be a file pointer which is going to point to that location. And it is for per process that has the file open. For every process, maybe a file is shared among multiple files, multiple processes. So every process can open that file and can perform a separate read and write operation. Okay, so for every process, there is a file pointer should be maintained. File open count. Counter of number of times a file is open to allow removal of data from open file table when last process is closed it. Okay. Disk location of the file. Cache of data access information. That is very important. Disk location of the file. Access right. Which access right that particular process have on that particular file. If it is a read access, or it is a read write, or it is a read write execute. That is very important. So whenever we are going to open the file, we need to have all these information, then only the file is going to be opened. Open file locking, provided by some operating systems and file systems. Not mandatorily it is going to be there, but it is going to be provided by some operating system. Mediates access to a file. Mandatory or advisory? Mandatory access is denied depending on logs held and request. What is advisory? Processes can find status of logs and decide what to do. Okay. Now we are going to discuss about different file types and their names and extension. If the file is an executable file, then the usual extensions are exe, com, bin or null. What is the function of this type of file? Read to run machine language program. Okay. If it is an object type file, the extension can be obj or o. That means the file is already compiled. It is machine language, but it is not. If it is an executable file, that means the file is ready for execution. All the linking and loading, all this kind, it is already compiled. It is already linking is also done, loading is also done, and linking is also done, and it is obviously converted into the machine language program. But if it is an object file, that means it is compiled. It is converted into the machine language, but it is not linked. Linker operation is still pending. Source code. It just depends on which program's code is this. It may, if it is a C, then C, Java, Plus, as ASM. These are many can be there. So source code in various languages. Depends on the language. Okay. If it is a batch file, then BAT is one extension, SH is another extension. So basically, if the file is basically a command to the command interpreter, that means command to the shell, so then this type of file is used. Text file. If it is a text file, that means it may be a Word document, or it may be an open Word document or whatever. So maybe it is TXT, it may be doc. Okay, so textual data or documents. If it is word processor, it may be WP extension, it may be text, RTF, doc. So various word processor format. It depends which formats user is going to use. Now, if it is a library file, then what can be the extension? Usual extensions are lib, a, so, dll. Libraries of routines for the programmers. Okay. It's indicate that these are the libraries of routines for programmers. Now, if it is a print or view file, then PS, PDF, JPEG, ASCII or binary file in a format for printing or viewing. Okay, no write operation can be performed on this type of file. If it is an archive, that means zip file, tar, ARK, these are the extension. So related files grouped into one file, sometimes compressed for archiving or storage. Okay, so there can be extension like arc, zip, tar. Now, if the file is a multimedia file, then MPEG, MOV, RM, MP3, AVI, these are the common usual extension. So these are basically the binary file containing audio or audio video information. Okay, so these are the different type of file can be there and their functions. Now we are going to discuss about the access method. That means how the file can be accessed. It can be accessed sequentially or direct. So sequential access. So what is sequential access? This is an example of sequential access. Firstly, we are going to perform read next. That means the next data is going to be read, and then write next. That means after that the write operation, then the reset. No read after last write. Rewrite. Now the direct access. Now read n. N is what? A particular position that is mentioned. If we perform read next all time, that means we are sequentially going on. Firstly, the first data is read, then the second data, then the third data, like this. But if you write read n, that means we are directly going to this n position. N is basically indicating a particular position. If we perform write n, that means we are writing to that particular position n. Okay, so in direct access we can mention that. So position to n, and then we can perform read next, write next. Okay, so n is basically the relative block number. That means in which block we want to read or write. Okay, so basically in sequential access file, this is the beginning and this is the end. Maybe this is my current position. We can start my current position. So we can move like this, read or write by like this, okay, sequentially. Or we can perform rewind. If we perform rewind, then we are moving towards this direction. So if we perform read or write, then we are moving towards end. If we are performing rewind, we are moving to the beginning. But every time we are going sequential. We cannot jump to a particular data. Okay. But if we are performing random access, then we can jump to a particular data. From this position to we can go to this position, then from this position we can go to this position, like this. Okay. Now the next thing we are going to discuss is the directory structure. What is it? It is a collection of nodes containing information about all files. Here you can see these are the directory. So in the directory, files are going to be stored. So both the directory structure and the files reside on disk. Backups of these two structures are kept on disk. So basically both are going to be located in the disk. So a typical file system organization, so directory, and under directory there is a file. So in partition A we can have a directory, and in the directory we can have files. In partition B again we can have a directory, and in directory we have a files, and all the things can be located in a particular disk. Now it may be possible in disk 2 there is only one partition and there is only one directory and files. Now operation perform on directory. What we can do? Search for a particular file. Okay. We can create a file. We can delete a file. We can list a directory. We can rename a file. We can traverse the file system. So these are the operation. We are very familiar with this operation. In Windows, we have every time we are going to perform all these operations. Just I am identifying those. Okay, we can search for a file in a directory. Every time we are going to search, we can create a file. Whenever we are creating a document or whatever else, we are creating a file. We can delete a file. Can go send to the file to the recycle bin. We can list the file directory. We can list a directory by the view. Okay. We can rename a file by the rename option. We can traverse the file system. Okay. These are the things we can perform on directory. Now organize the directory logically, obviously, to obtain efficiency, locating a file quickly. So this is the first thing, the first motto for organize the directory. We want to search a file first. So organizing, we know that organizing how we can actually organize a directory with the name of the file, or with the type of the file, or we can organize with the last date of modification. So in this way, whatever the user requirement, actually our objective is to search a file or locating a file very quickly. So efficiency is going to measure with that. Naming of the directory, or naming of the file that is convenient to user. Naming is the only thing that is written in the human language. So two users can have same name for different files. That is depend on the user. The same file can have several different names also. But A same name cannot be used for different files in a same directory. Okay. Now grouping. Logical grouping of files by properties. All Java programs, all games like this. So when we are going to open a file, there may be all programs, there can be a JPEG. So or it can be organized like that. So grouping is again for make a group depending on the file properties. Now a directory can be single level directory where you can see these are the directory cat o a, these are the name of the directory, and there is files directly under that directory. So this is basically a single level directory. So there is only one level. The directory is here and here the files. Now what is the problem in that? Naming problem, grouping problem. Because in a particular directory, when we are going to store a file, the same name we cannot have multiple files, so a naming problem can be there. Grouping problem also can be there. Now this is basically two level directory, separate directory for each user. So this is for user 1, this is for user 2 like this. Now under user 1 again we have a directory. So basically if we are in the Windows platform, directory is basically the folder. Okay. So here we have a folder, a directory. Under that we have separate directory, and in that file directory there is a file. So this is basically two level. This is the one level, this is the another level. So path name, obviously it is going to be large. Can have the same file name for different user. It can be possible because it is not going to store in the same directory. Efficient searching is also going to be handled, and no grouping capabilities. Now tree structure directory, here we can have different levels, multiple levels. So this is one level, then under that again we have a level. Now here you can see in this level, this is two level, but here under mail again we have a set of directories, and then again we can have a set of directories, again we have a file. So this is basically look like a tree. Okay. So obviously efficient searching, grouping capability is there, and current directory, that means working directory, can be done like this. You can see here spell, then under spell we can go to mail, and then we can go to mail, and then we can go to program here. So suppose this is my current directory, so spell, mail, program, in this way it can be there. Okay. Enter. Tree structure directory continues. So absolute or relative path name is there. Creating a new file is done on correct directory. Delete a file can be like this. So these are all actually rm command is used for deleting a file. For creating a directory, you can use mkdir, then the directory name like mkdir count. This is going to create the count. So deleting mail, deleting the entire subtree root by mail. So if we delete this also going to be deleted. Okay. So acyclic graph directories, this is another structure. Here you can see the structure is like a graph. In the tree it is not closed, basically this is an open kind of thing, but here that system is going to be closed. So this file can be a part of this folder, or it can be a part of this folder. You can see this folder is present here also, and it is present in here also. Okay, so this is possible in case of acyclic graph directories. So have shared subdirectories and files. Two different names can be there aliasing. In if directory deletes list, it can be a link pointer. Solution, back pointers can be there. Back pointers using a daisy chain organization, entry. So new directory entry point can be a link, resolve the link. So general graph directory, this is general graph directory where this can be like this. Here you can see there is no sharing. Sharing is there, but this is not acyclic. Okay. So how do we guarantee no cycles? Allow only link to file, not subdirectories. Here you can see there is no link to subdirectories. Garbage collection This must. Every time a new link is added, use a cycle detection algorithm to determine whether it is okay or not. Now the next point is file system mounting. A file system must be mounted before it can be accessed. An unmounted file system is mounted at a mount point. So this is basically the figure. This is the existing and this is the unmounted partition. Here you can see the mounting is done like this and this is the unmounted. Okay. Mount point. So this is the mounting is done. So file sharing is also very important. Sharing of files on multi-user system is desirable. Sharing may be done through a protection scheme. Must be there is a protection scheme. On distributed systems, files may be shared across the network. Network file system, that is NFS, is a common distributed file sharing method. File sharing between multiple users, user ID and group ID. User ID means we can identify a particular user and allowing permissions and protection to be per user. It is meant user wise. But if we are going to group ID, we are going to allow multiple users be in group, permitting group access right. Okay. Remote file system. For remote file system, user network to allow file system access between systems manually via programs like FTP. Distributed file systems are automatically, their file sharing is done. World Wide Web, in World Wide Web, we can semi-automatically done. In client-server architecture, we can allow client to mount remote file systems from servers. Server can serve multiple clients. NFS is a standard Unix client-server file sharing protocol. CIFS is standard Windows protocol. Distributed information system, that is distributed naming services such as LDAP, DNS, NIS. These are all required when we are sharing. Okay, remote file system. Failure modes. Remote file systems add new failure modes like this is because of network failure can be there, for server failure can be there, a file can be failed. So it is not only depends on that particular system where the file is reside. Recovery from failure can involve state information about state of it. These are actually going issues of distributed operating system, but you just know this stateless protocols such as NFS includes all information in each request, so allowing easy recovery but less security. Consistency semantics. So just like the previous chapter, the synchronizations algorithms we have used, in case of synchronization, whatever we have discussed, those semantics you have to remember. So protection. So file owner or creator should be able to control what can be done and by whom. Read, write, execute, upon, delete list. These are all things can be done. But we need to mention what are the permissible for a particular file and by whom it is permissible. Maybe for different user, permissions can be different. So access list and groups. Mode of access can be read, write, execute. 3 classes of users can be there: owner, group access, and public access. So for owner's access, the value is 7. If the value is 7, that means read, write, and X all are permitted. For the group access, it may be 110. That means execution is not permissible. For public access, maybe execution is permissible, but read write. So that is depends basically. So ask manager to create a group with a unique name, obviously. Say G and add some user to the group for a particular. These are some examples basically. So see, change mode is the command by which we can change the permission. Okay. So attach a group to a file, we can, using the change group, we can do this. Command we can do this. So this is a Windows application access control list manager. We are all familiar with that. We can, with the advanced option, we can perform all this access control. This is a sample user directory listing. We are also familiar with this mode. So these are the things that I want to discuss about files. There is another lecture on the file allocation methods. So in that lecture, I have discussed about the different file allocation methods we have. And in this lecture, we have discussed all other things about the file. That is, what are the attributes of the file, what are the access method, how the directory structure can be maintained. All these things are discussed in this lecture. So all these, learn all this and be safe. So up to now, thank you, student.